Hey guys, welcome back to One Team, One Podcast, episode 30. We got a little
30.
day drinking episode. And we have Jack, and who do we have here?
I'm excited to be here. I'm Ben Mintz.
Mintzy.
Yeah, here enjoying Baton Rouge so far. Been here a couple months and loving working with Jimmy Ott every night.
I had this on video too, so there's no mistaking your voice at all, right? Like
it's either him or it's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, it's either you or Mahomes, and it's not. We don't have Mahomes.
No, you don't. No NFL MVPs or Super Bowl rings for me yet.
Good. I'm glad you're in studio in the Courtesy Automotive Group studio.
Oh,
also, yeah, we got a little sponsored studio. So big shout out before we get started. Courtesy Automotive Group, Courtesy Buick GMC in Lafayette, 4750 Johnston Street in Lafayette. Brandon Lejeune has been big time for us. We really appreciate all of his support with us, guys, and check out his hit list. All right, we got a 2020 Buick Encore. Sale price right now is $17,988 for a 2020 Encore. What do y'all have, Jack? An Enclave?
Yeah, it's an
Enclave. Let's see. I don't have an Enclave here, but I got a 2020 Buick Envision, $10,000 off the sticker price. What do you got? What are you driving?
I'm driving a 2013 Ford Edge, man.
All right. Money. So his nickname is Money. You'll like that.
Okay.
Ben. You should appreciate that. But Money, Brandon Lejeune. We got to get our boy Ben Mintz in a 2020. How can we make this happen, Brandon? So I'm going to post all of his information, guys, on our Facebook page, but I want you guys to give him a like. He is pumping out 2021 Denali's like crazy. People are pre-ordered them, and now they're starting to come in, and now he's delivering them out. So they're out in Lafayette, but Baton Rouge, North Louisiana. You know some people up in North Louisiana, right, Benny?
I do. I'm from the 3-1 grade.
There you go.
I grew up in Monroe and did 4 years. I was the drive time sports radio in Shreveport from 2015.
Awesome, man.
March.
So anybody listening to this, you guys need to know that they're the number one Buick GMC dealer in Louisiana, but they deliver cars all over the state. So just because they're in Lafayette doesn't mean you have to go there. You can call them up. They can make a deal for you. They'll deliver it to you too. So big shout out to those guys. We're in the Courtesy Automotive studio, but we also have Bear Process Safety that came on recently. That's Adam Berry. He likes to do a little betting there. So
all right.
we'll have Adam Berry on soon, but so Bear Process Safety, they do a lot of process safety work for the industrial and plant area. So I know we have some guys that are probably in the plant working business right now. Check out Bear Process Safety. Go to their website, bearps.com. A very innovative group trying to get into the Baton Rouge area a little bit more, but they can also go virtually outside of Baton Rouge. So I know we have people outside all over the place listening to this. We want to get them involved with Bear Process Safety. Good group of guys over there. So let's get started, Mincy. All right, so we got new shows coming, right?
Yeah, we do. This is such a fun thing for me to get to work for ESPN Baton Rouge. And I've said this, the first thing I said when I got hired down here was, I have so much respect for the way they cover LSU sports. When you look at the talent on that roster with T-Bob Hebert and Jordy Clauta, and or what we're currently watching, Hester and Hanny right now in Moscona. Look, I'm never going to be any one of those guys. Like, I'm not an LSU alum. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to be me, and that's fantasy sports and sports gambling and high-stakes poker. And I think it's a great fit because I'm going to come down here and kind of fill in some of the stuff they don't do.
Right.
And I think it's going to work.
Well, and I think OTB caught up with that pretty quickly when they added you on. That was such a big segment whenever you were coming in and doing those six-packs every – were y'all calling it six-packs back then?
Yeah, it's a six-pack. So this is year 4 of it. It's been a lot of fun. I mean, that certainly, I think, I actually met T-Bob at a 2013 Mardi Gras party in New Orleans. And, sometimes –
Whoa, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Scratch everything you see on that board over there. Let's go back and let's talk about this a little bit. So how did you meet T-Bob?
So we had a mutual friend. I just randomly met him at a Mardi Gras house party uptown, pretty wild one. To say the least, and we just connected. And, sometimes, man, you meet people and you're just like, I'm going to be friends with this guy. And I think T-Bob, he's pretty far out there mentally, and I am too. And so I think there's like a mutual respect for that. Like, in media, I think, I don't know. I think there's like a mutual respect for our brains are a little
I can
different.
see that. I could see that for sure.
I definitely see that.
All right, so you're doing the six-pack, you're doing the game time with Jimmy Ott for sure, and you and Jimmy Ott are great together, my friend. So Jimmy's got all those details, especially with college games, like off-the-wall college games. And he's got some kind of crazy detail that he knew about But then, like, when the NFL comes, I feel like you're the guy I'm going to listen to more with the NFL.
Well, I love the NFL.
Except for last week, maybe.
Yeah, oh man, but last week I will say this, man. You know, I went 2-4 on the 6-pack, and I could have gone 5-1. I got I got gutted in the final minute in like 3 games.
Okay.
Yeah, but it happens like that. You know, it's a no, whatever. All in the game, man. Bill Parcells said his best. You are what your record is. So, you know, I own it, and we're gonna do better this week. And it's a long season.
Oh, they're going to give you hell this week, aren't they?
They will. Well, they can't. Jot can't say anything. He got lit up in NFL too.
But T-Bob will.
Yeah, T-Bob. Yeah, he went 0-3 on that. We're doing that DX thing on Friday mornings. OTB,
yeah.
OT with Megan making money of FanDuel, who's
I followed her the other day, and she put what I like about her. She also posts her live bets. A lot of people don't do that. They post their first bet, but
the live betting that's the most fun thing to me.
I mean, you can get in trouble though.
I mean, I know.
Oh yeah,
I've been in trouble a lot doing live. Oh, that's terrible live bets. I'm really not a good gambler, Ben, so I need all the help I can get. I'm not going to show you what's on my screen.
No worries.
But also, all right, what do we have coming up new, though? We just announced that today.
Yeah, so I'm super stoked. I kind of mentioned, you know, what I think my role is. The ESPN Baton Rouge is kind of just do some stuff that they're not doing, and we're gonna. The thing that got my show mixing up with Mintz most popular up in Shreveport was we were the only fantasy football hour in the state of Louisiana for 3 years.
Okay.
And you know, being in Shreveport, it's like a weird market because there's no colleges there, and kind of a big pro sports town. So it's like, well, what can I do that's different than everybody else? So we had a fantasy hour that's extremely popular. We used to get 30, 40 texts an hour about who to start, who to sit, who to cut people. Yeah. And I'm actually bringing on my former co-host to that. Tyler Moody is going to be part of Dear Mr. Fantasy. So it's kind of transporting the old mixing it up popular fantasy hour down here, but it's on YouTube Live. Martin Black's going to produce it. So I'm working with 2 guys I have the utmost respect for. And we're going to kind of go with a different angle. I feel like when you watch these fantasy shows, everything's a list, everything's start, sit. We're going up tempo 60 minutes.
I like that.
We're going to go different. We're not like.
I've tried so hard to listen to fantasy football podcasts, and I just can't get into it. And it's like I want their information that they give, but it's the way
boring.
They do it is just
so. Matt Moscona, I don't know if he still does this or not, but he did a start and sit, and I forget the guy he had on there, but it was boring. It was just boring. And it's like one of those where, okay, let's regroup, or I need to finish my paperwork at work. You know, let me go ahead and do that now while this segment's going on. But you need something that's going to be, and I love that it's at night. Like, you guys are going to be ramped up, right?
It's going to be a lot of fun. You know, we went.
Is this a daily show?
So it's going to start tonight. It's the first night. We're calling it Dear Mr. Fantasy. Right. Kind of off the, I'm a big Traffic fan, Steve Winwood song.
I got you.
And then that's actually going to be fun.
I heard the theme song. Is that going to be the theme song?
Oh, well, man, we played the Billy Joel fantasy on the YouTube. Has got a lot of weird copyright music laws, so we're going to have to be careful on all that. But the element we're going to bring, though, is we're going to have listener questions where they hashtag Dear Mr. Fantasy that we're going to answer on there. But the big thing is just we're going to throw a lot of information to people in 60 minutes. I mean, we're going to do a 15-minute recap of last week where we hit every game for just a minute. And then we're going to answer listener questions. We're going to talk injury report, ads, and then we're going to do a preview for the next week, and then we're going to get out of there. But we're going to try to find that balance of being up tempo, high energy, but like not going too fast to fly by people.
I like that a lot. So you have questions already. So here's our chance to pick Mincy's brain on our fantasy teams here.
I texted my league. I'm the commissioner actually, and I texted my league asking if anybody had some questions, and they
popped up a million of them.
Maybe like 5 or 6 of them right here.
Awesome.
Let's go.
We're ready to go.
Yeah, always, man. I appreciate y'all having me.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you think Odell would be the best fit if he was to get traded?
He's got to get out of where he's at in Cleveland. Cleveland's committed. Look, they went to – first of all, Stefanski, the former Vikings OC, is their new head coach. I think they're going to try to run the ball a ton this year. Jack Conklin signed out of Tennessee at right tackle, and they drafted Jedrick Wills. I mean, the passing, they're just trying to pound it and do some play action. Odell needs to go to a dome team. I think he's a guy that would be a lot better on the fast track, on the turf. Yeah. You know, I think a team Indianapolis, I think, might be a good fit. I don't know. Vikings would be interesting. You know,
speed in Indianapolis. If you went there with Ty, that would be crazy.
They need to get him on a fast track though. Arizona might be one. Yeah. You know, just somewhere where he needs to be on an indoor fast track to utilize that skill set. I don't think he's as good in those Northeast cold weather games.
Okay. I like that. All right, so
Houston maybe too. That'd be a good one.
Ooh,
Houston and being back down. Yeah.
What other questions you got, Jack? I'm still looking at a couple of them here.
Rookie running backs, which ones do you like right now? Like, which ones do you think maybe aren't starting right now, but you think could?
I'm keeping an eye on that. I know Malcolm Brown had a pretty good game for the Rams last week with the 2 touchdowns, but I think Cam Akers could emerge in the second half.
I agree.
You know, the big thing with rookie running backs every year is everybody wants them in fantasy drafts because they're sexy and they hadn't shown anything yet. But it always takes them to the second half a lot of times to learn. You know, the big thing is the pass blocking and just knowing the schemes. And so a lot of times, you know, you're waiting on the second half for these guys to break out. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor with the injury to Marlon Mack. I mean, Indy's going to want to try to pound it. They got a really good O-line. They also need to try to pound the football just so Rivers won't screw up and blow games, which he's known to do. You know, you got to really have a good run-pass balance. I'm looking for him to carry it a ton. You know, Antonio Gibson and the Redskins has kind of got a roll. I know he's more of a guy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Redskins, oddly enough, looked pretty good.
Their front seven on defense is for
let me give you a story about that one, Mintzy. All right, you guys were at the Magnolia Bluffs on Sunday before noon. I'm driving to New Orleans. I'm with my wife. My wife doesn't care for me betting as much as I bet. I already put down, I don't know where I heard this, but I put money on the Eagles. And was that one of y'all's things y'all were saying y'all were leaning towards the Eagles?
Man, yeah.
I don't know where I got that.
I didn't have an opinion, but the injury report got so bad before I told everybody to ban the ship.
I was driving, and I couldn't pick up my phone when you said, okay, the injury report's really bad, and I'm really thinking the Redskins here because of their defensive line. Then you started naming – the Redskins. Yeah, sorry.
The Washington football team. I've screwed up on the radio 3 times.
Oh, sure. So you started naming off the guys on the defensive line for Washington, and I forgot how badass that defensive line is. Man. And I was like getting antsy, and I was trying to like maybe she's gonna turn her head and I can like put a quick pick in to kind of like hedge myself. But nope, I went full Eagles there. So lost that one. But you had some good insight on that one, but I was in the car. Rookie wide receivers. What do you think? Man,
I like what I saw. Even though he dropped 2 balls, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to be really good. It's just his acceleration and his route running are just a level I don't know that I've ever really even seen. And, you know, that game Monday night was weird. I mean, both teams left so many points on the field with Gostkowski. I had the over, and Gostkowski left 10 points on the field. Denver got stopped on the Titans 1. It was kind of a game where I I lost, but I thought I had the right side. And Cortland Sutton being banged up already gives Jeudy a huge opportunity. Sure. I really like him a lot.
Yeah, I'm probably looking at. I had that on the draft that you helped me out with. There's one league. I'm in 3 leagues, but there's one league, Mintzy, that I really want to win, and I'm trying to shut a couple people up.
Fair enough.
And so in this league, I ended up drafting way too many rookie wide receivers. It's Jalen Reagor, Brandon Ayuk, Denzel Mims, and then I ended up picking up Lynn Bowden because I was like, I'm just taking a sleeper here on Lynn Bowden. But now during the
Mims pulled both of his hamstrings.
Okay, so I need to start cleaning up a little bit. Yeah. So on the Bucs Saints game, all of a sudden Scotty Miller comes out of nowhere. I'd never even heard of the guy, and then they're even talking about him on the broadcast, saying you guys need to pick up Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller is available in this league.
Is it a full point PPR or half?
It's full point.
I'd get him then because he's got those slot guys to Brady. He's going to get, you're going to get a lot of 7-catch for 60-yard games, which in a full point PPR, there's a lot of value. If it was half point PPR, I don't see him as a guy that's explosive necessarily. So I like him in a full point PPR.
I really thought somebody like Lynn Bowden this year was going to be one of those guys. The reason why is because he was a wide receiver at Kentucky. He played quarterback. They listed him as a running back.
But he got dealt, though.
He pushed Miami.
Yeah, he got pushed over to Miami. I thought maybe at Las Vegas.
That was after you drafted, too, I think.
No, it was before.
I thought he was with the Oakland when you –
He was with Las Vegas, and then after I already had him, he got traded over. But I still thought I feel like he's listed as a running back. He's probably going to play wide receiver. So you could, in a PPR, take advantage of that kind of like
he's like that Ty Montgomery, like
he's like mislisted as a running back instead of a wide.
Dexter McCluster.
All right, one of the first years I ever did fantasy football. Okay. Marcus Colston.
Tight end, I had that too.
You did?
His rookie year. He was a monster.
Raped people that year.
Marcus Colston's rookie year, so he came out of Hofstra. He was the last pick, 7th round pick. and he was a tight end at Hofstra because he's playing small school ball and how big he was.
Yeah.
And so he was tight end eligible his first year in the NFL, and just
so you could put him in as tight
No,
end.
it was awesome.
He was a wide receiver numbers. Oh,
that was 06. No, he was part. He was part. It was Reggie Bush, Colston, and Zach Street for that same class.
That 06 team was crazy. The whole team was just full of new guys, huh?
Yes. That was a magical thing.
That was a great year. James White at New England. What do you think about New England? Because I really liked Sony Michel, but I didn't really know how it was going to work out with Cam. And if it was going to be the same thing like it was with Brady, where you just got a million different running backs and they're getting different carries here and there, but it almost felt like it was Cam and Sony Michel.
James White's going to get hurt a little bit because this is a team that's trying to run the football this year. And I wasn't surprised. Jimmy Ott and I actually debated a lot on Game Time. I said, look, he was concerned because Cam was hurt last year and all this stuff. They weren't going to run him. And I was just like, hell no, they're going to run the heck out of him. They got him for cheap. Yeah. He's sat out a whole year. And Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick are not, they're going to coach around their talent, not their scheme. They're not going to run the same offense with freaking Cam Newton as they do as Tom Brady.
Right.
And we saw a lot of misdirection. He ran at the edges. He had 15 carries for 75 yards, 2 touchdowns, looked pretty good throwing the football. I don't know that this is going to affect James White positively because I think this is a team that's going to try to run the ball and play defense and grind it out this year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. And I mean, it's so hard to go off that first week, but there's certain things that are just kind of eye opening.
What else is even going on in that backfield? Is Damian Harris?
No, he was inactive last game.
He was on IR, I think.
Yeah, I believe they ran it a little bit with Michelle ran it some.
Yep. Michelle ran it a good bit.
Rex Burkhead had he had a few carries.
I think so. Michelle had about 10 to 15 carries.
And a touchdown.
Cam Newton is still running the ball himself as well, so he's going to take carries from somebody. But that's what I kind of figured. All right, so any other sleepers you're kind of thinking about that could be on a waiver wire?
I'll tell you a good one. Well, first of all, Naheem Hines got added by a ton of people because, when you look at Indy, when they run the ball, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor. But anytime they're in passing situations, it's going to be Hines. And so anytime the game flow is going to decide this, but if they're playing from behind, you look at how much Rivers like to throw to Austin Eckler last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, Naheem Hines, he was like an H-back type, kind of a weird role at NC State. He actually did the same thing with Jalen Samuels before him, who's now a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he's a dude that can catch. He's very, very good catching the ball. So I think he's a guy. I'll tell you one that's kind of a sneaky ad that's not necessarily as obvious is Carlos Hyde for Seattle. And when you look at Seattle cycles through running backs so much in the course of the season, I mean, Hyde's already the number 2 to Chris Carson.
Right.
Looked pretty good. He had over 1,000 yards for a Houston team that had a bad O-line last year. And I feel like at some point Carson's going to go down and Hyde's going to be the guy. And then you look at Seattle, looks like they're going to score more points this year. So I feel like Hyde, I don't know that I added him in all my leagues. I don't know that I'm going to be starting him. He's a depth guy right now, but I feel like in the second half of the year he could be a guy.
What's the situation with Rashad Penny? Is he still there?
He's still there.
They just don't like him?
Yeah, they don't love him. And, I mean, he's out there on third down sometimes. Gotcha. But, yeah, I don't know. Just Seattle, it seems like every year 3 or 4 running backs get in there.
They wasted a first-round pick on him, didn't they?
Yeah, but Seattle, the one thing about Seattle is it's fascinating to me the way they look at the draft versus everybody else. Every year, late first round, they take somebody that's got a 4th-round grade because they trust what Pete Carroll and John Schneider think for their scheme.
Right.
And so every year, it's always, Seattle took some busts. Like, man, I mean, they get more value out of the mid to late rounds than anybody. Their whole culture is created on competition. Man, you get into camp with them, they don't give a crap if you got drafted in the 6th round or the 1st round. And that's Pete Carroll was like that going back to USC.
Right. So the Seattle and Falcons game, that was a little bit of a shocker last week, right?
Jamal Adams, though, man, just looking awesome.
Made a complete difference.
Yeah,
right?
He just made a huge difference out there for that defense. And, obviously has a different skill set than Earl Thomas, but to really run that Seattle D, they need that safety that can be very, very versatile. Adams is better run stopping and more of a blitzer, and Earl probably has a little more range or used to. But he's a huge difference maker. And the other thing that was just crazy was Russell Wilson went 31 for 35 in that football game, and DK Metcalf dropped the ball right in his chest. That was one of 4 incompletions. And so
that's one of your Ole Miss guys.
Yeah, well, he made up for it with the 38-yard touchdown on the 4th and 5. But I just was so impressed by how good Wilson looked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you feel like you're higher on Seattle or a little lower on Atlanta on something like that? Is just mostly just Seattle was just that good looking?
Man, man, I was kind of high on Atlanta going there, and I'm not an overreact to week one kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody always – you see this in college football too. People are so anxious for football to start that they watch every game week one, and then that's how they evaluate that team. And that's just like –
Well, I'm about to tell you a few in a second.
But I did love Seattle going into the year. I actually picked Seattle. KC Seattle was my Super Bowl pick. I really like Seattle.
Seattle looked really good, man.
If I have to not pick the Saints with my bias, then I would go Seahawks.
And we have a natural bias, obviously. So,
sure.
All right, we're going to go through a few lines, and I don't know if you've really delved that far into it yet.
I did. So I have a Tuesday thing where one of my favorite segments is we play Guess the Lines.
Okay.
And, man, I'm pretty stone cold at it. And did it yesterday with my buddy. And with the point spreads and over-unders, I hit a bunch of them on the exact number. So makes me feel pretty good.
First one, and this is your favorite bet of all time, the Buffalo Bills over under 41 against the Miami Dolphins.
Man, got burned at the butt late. Yeah, the Jets scored with 40 seconds left. Got me on that one. Buffalo, Miami. I feel like the whole world is going to be on Buffalo this week.
Yeah,
and I'm always dicey. Miami pulls some upsets at home.
I'm the public.
Yeah, but Miami at home in those Florida games when it's hot, we've seen them. It gets a little weird those games in Miami. So I don't have an opinion on. I'm not saying I like Miami.
-6.
Yeah, I'm just staying away from that. The only thing is, I would lean under, but man, with Fitzpatrick and Josh Allen, I don't love betting under because the turnovers can get you even if they can't move the ball because there could be sudden change plays.
Sure.
So I'm actually kind of staying away from this game. I do think Buffalo is going to be a very public side that I would be careful about this week.
Okay, so next one we saw that was very interesting to us was Tampa Bay -9.5 against Carolina. First of all, I've never seen this many high lines in the NFL. If I remember, 9.5 early line Tampa Bay against Carolina.
And this game's in Tampa, correct?
In Tampa.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was just making sure because somebody had said it was at Carolina in an article I read earlier today, and I thought that was wrong. I actually have this is one of those spots where Vegas sometimes does this when they set these higher lines. Vegas likes Tampa here, and they're discouraging Tampa action when they set it up at 9.5.
Gotcha.
And here's a couple of things. First of all, Tampa. Even though they lost 34-23 the Saints last week, I thought their defense looked damn good. Their front seven gave the Saints a lot of trouble.
Their linebacker, the way their front line just kind of controls the offensive line unless those linebackers kind of run free and do their own thing. How many times did we see Levante David and Devin White do a twist as a linebacker, and one of them just goes scot-free through the line? Yeah. They have some studs on the defensive line. I'm assuming it's their secondary is their issue, right?
Well, that game was weird. The Brady pick six and a lot of the sudden change plays because really the Breeze did. The Saints offense, they scored 34 points, but the total yardage wasn't anything to.
Well, the Saints offense actually only scored 27 because they had the pick six.
Right, because of the pick six, right.
That's true. But my analysis for this game is Carolina's going to run such a similar scheme to the Saints because of Joe Brady and Teddy Bridgewater that Tampa Bay is going to be kind of familiar with it already going in. And Carolina's going to play a lot of overs this year. This is something I've been watching for because they're the first team in NFL history to draft all defense last year. They lost Luke Kuechly, and there's just so much turnover. I do think the offense will score points to Joe Brady this year, but, man, they're just in big trouble on defense.
47.5?
I would lean over. But I kind of think Tampa may even cover, even at that high of a number.
Wow,
I really do. I just don't think Carolina's defense is that good, and I think Tampa's defense is going to be ready for this game. I think Carolina's going to be ready.
Okay, we just saw the Steelers the other night.
Defense is ferocious for Pittsburgh. I think they may have the best one in the league.
Okay, so Pittsburgh -7.5 against Denver.
Man, it's not a great matchup for Denver on the short week too, coming off the Monday night loss. It would certainly help them if they could get Cortland Sutton back out there. I thought they really missed him in that game on Monday night. I didn't know who the heck that Tim Patrick 81 was that was out there. The whole game, man, Pittsburgh, it's going to be hard that's a tough assignment for Drew Lock here. Very, very, very tough. Denver's defense could keep him in it, though. What's the total?
It's 41.5. That's what I was about to say. This is your new Buffalo.
Yeah, right, it's a physical. This one's going to be a physical one. I would lean under this one.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go down. There's a few others we were just talking about, Jack.
I got a strong opinion on this Jacksonville-Tennessee game.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
I think Tennessee's going to just beat the hell out of them. Jacksonville's hyped up now off that upset over Indy. They're week 1-0. Tennessee, look, people were kind of dogging on them for the 16-14 win. I mean, they could have scored a lot of points. Goskowski was the only reason that game was close. I still liked what I saw for them defensively and offensively with the play-action game. I think they're going to come out and just beat the crap out of Jacksonville in this game. I say look, I went about 14-21.
Yeah, it's -9 right now.
That's my survivor pick for the week is Tennessee.
Okay. All right. So the one we were talking about before, Jack, was Minnesota, Indianapolis. Minnesota's +3.
Man, this is a battle of two 0-1 teams that need it.
Yep.
Both of these teams did not look good last week. Minnesota, the secondary for Minnesota is very, very young this year. Their corners are all between 21 and 24 years old, and boy, Rodgers just had a field day on them. And Danielle Hunter being hurt, and they lost Everson Griffin. There's a lot of turnover on this Vikings defense right now. And you think of Mike Zimmer and those defenses, that's certainly been a strength of the team.
Yep.
Man, home team's favored by 3 here in Indy, Minnesota. I don't trust either one of these quarterbacks either. Just the turnover factor on both of them.
If I had to trust one of them, though, I would lean Kirk Cousins for sure.
Yeah, I don't trust Phillip Rivers at all.
No. And that's been a war on the air on ESPN Baton Rouge. Everybody was talking. I was the pro Titans one. Everybody's been liking Indy, Hester, and T-Bob and Ott. We're all saying Indy to win this division.
You know what Hester loves.
Of course, they play together.
Yeah, he's a big Phillip Rivers guy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't see that at all.
This was a tough one to call, though, because both teams, I think, were overrated going into the year.
The Indianapolis defense just should be one of the best defenses in the league, though, when you look at
They're tough. They're physical. They're super physical up front.
Good defensive line.
And DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard, obviously one of the best linebackers, but I still don't love their secondary.
I don't like.
I remember
but they still have Malik Hooker out there.
No, they do. They do. If he stay healthy.
The Colts-Chiefs game was one I always go back to last year, where they really just controlled the Chiefs, and they were the only team that I saw that year that would just pretty much manhandled the Chiefs up front, both sides of the ball. So offensive and defensive line, you could just tell. Okay. I just felt like Frank Reich was going to take a next step, but I think that what's holding them back is Phillip Rivers with that.
Yeah.
If he still had Andrew Luck out there, I'd feel a lot better about the next step.
I would too. Our conspiracy theory when we started this podcast, the Patriots didn't have a quarterback at the time. They were going to pull Andrew Luck out of retirement, and it was going to be the biggest Bill Belichick move ever.
I think the Colts kept his rights just
did they?
I think that actually
they would have gotten a first-round pick.
Yeah, I think they kept his rights just for all that.
All right, so we got a big Thursday night game.
We do, and we got a big watch party at Joey Pearl for that too.
Oh, we may need to go to that.
Yeah, no, we're doing a $9 night for Burrow because the Joe Burrow thing, and that's $9 buckets of beer and $9 for oyster. They have a $9 oyster special.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I think I may crash this one.
Yeah, we had a big time for week 1 in there last week.
Okay, so the Burrow train. I know it's gonna Baton Rouge. The public from Baton Rouge is going to push this lineup by itself, right? Yes. So it's +6 right now. Bengals.
It's funny because Cleveland's got so many LSU guys.
That's true.
Cleveland's got more LSU guys.
That's true.
It's like I always joke, Cleveland's got all the LSU and the Saints got all the Ohio State. It's funny. Well, so this game's Cleveland by 5.5 is what I've last seen.
I have 6 on this line.
Yeah. Man, I feel like public's going to be on Cincy here because Cleveland looked so bad week 1.
Yeah.
I hate to just say I'm staying away. I'm not betting against Joe Burrow, but I don't know. The Cincinnati offensive line, I saw a lot. Granted, the Chargers have one of the best pass rushes in pro football.
Right.
Myles Garrett for Cleveland could be a real problem in this one. I will not bet on Baker Mayfield to beat Joe Burrow, but I think I'm gonna sit back and watch.
Yeah, and this is one also where I look at the total with 43.5.
Cincy could be sneaky unders because Cincy actually does have that good D line with Geno Atkins and Dunlap. They still got some dudes out there. And, that O-line for Cincy.
The O-line, and they have a fat kicker who can't make a kick.
I don't know how they let him back in the locker room after all that, man. They do have good skill position. If A.J. Green can stay healthy with him and Boyd and Ross and Mixon, they got some skilled guys I like.
Any other lines you're looking at for NFL this week?
Top
of your head?
The Tennessee one, I'm curious.
That's yours,
the Saints one. Saints have done such a good job taking care of business on the road the last 3 years. Yeah. That's kind of been the difference because, you look at the Saints' big run of success before was so Superdome related.
Yeah.
But, man, the last few years since they've become more physical on defense and more balanced running the ball, they win the games they're supposed to win on the road.
Well, what would this line be, though? It's 5.5 right now. What would this line be if fans were in attendance and it's the first game at Las Vegas ever? I mean, how much of a swing would we be
That come
talking
down a
about? Be
couple
2.5?
points,
I don't know if it'd be
3.5?
3. I don't know. The thing is with Vegas, it's going to be a lot of road fans at those games because everybody's going to go to Vegas, and the Saints are pretty public. But I'd probably 4, something like that. And the Mike Thomas thing obviously is a factor. It's going to be fascinating to see Emmanuel Sanders here because, he had that huge – he crushed the Saints in that Niners 48-46 win.
Yeah.
And I guess Sean Payton saw it and we got to get this guy.
Yeah.
And, Jared Cook continues to come along in the offense. He had a good second half last year. But real curious to see how Sanders does now into this number 1 role.
You think they're going to try to pick up a wide receiver here to kind of make up some time?
I think it's possible. Traquan Smith in year 3, boy. I know that a lot of people are down on his second year. He flashed some in the first year. I remember he had a 10-catch, 161-yard game because the Eagles rookie year that was impressive. But he's going to have an opportunity here.
Odell Beckham?
Stop.
Is this
they got money. There ain't money, man. He's got that big contract, though.
Stop.
All right, let's move over to the college side.
Right.
And this is what I like to bet more than I like to bet NFL. But I like to just listen to the pros talk about NFL like yourself. So, all right, a couple of college lines that just struck my immediate attention, and we talked about one before we came on here, was Louisiana Tech and Southern Miss.
Yeah, that's what's interesting because Southern Miss had owned Louisiana Tech, beat them 5 years in a row, and it was really the Tech would have a chance to CUSA and always lose to Southern Miss. Well, Tech finally beat them last year, 45-30, J.Mark Smith's senior year after being in college for 8 or 9 years. It felt like Southern Miss going through a lot of weird stuff. I mean, that was a bad loss at home week 1 to South Alabama.
Yeah.
We saw Jay Hopson, the coach, step down. They promoted from within. Jack Abraham, senior quarterback for Southern Miss, actually was a Louisiana Tech guy, transferred out of Tech, went to Mississippi JUCO, and ended up at Southern Miss. But the only thing with Tech, I would like Tech here. They've got a transfer quarterback named Luke Anthony from Abilene Christian in the Southland, who I think could be pretty good. But the only thing with Tech, last week's game canceled because of COVID. They had that tornado and hurricane. They had a tornado last year.
Right.
There's been so much stuff happening to the Ruston community that this line opened at 3.5 and now it's 6.5. I'm wondering if this COVID there, the Tech, I'm a little worried.
Somebody knows something.
Yeah, but I don't exactly. Like I was gonna lean Tech, but it just something feels weird.
All right, so here's one that. All right, I bet Navy to win against BYU.
Yeah, without knowing they hadn't been tackled.
I had no idea.
They haven't tackled.
My jaw is like open when Kurt Herbstreit's talking about this live on TV. And quickly hedged my bet, won my money back on it because I could just see. We were actually in the middle of a podcast.
Yeah, we were podcasting.
And I was like, whoa, I got to stop. So I went ahead and bet BYU, so I made my money back because I could just obviously tell that BYU is about to crush them. Tulane is -7 against Navy this week.
Tulane, good comeback. I know that they were down most of that game at South Alabama, but they showed some heart coming back. Yeah, I think. And then Willie Fritz just signed a 7-year extension.
That's right.
And look, love Willie Fritz.
I do too.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Billy's not, huh?
All
right, so
my stepdad went to Tulane. He's a huge Tulane fan.
Yeah.
He hates Willie Fritz.
Really?
Yeah.
What is his deal?
He just thinks that he's so and like, okay, watching every single Tulane game with him last year,
It's infuriating.
It's like, oh my God, they are so conservative. Like you wouldn't be able to know that if you didn't watch every single game. But yeah, they're definitely very conservative. But like Tulane is at a level right now where they shouldn't be. Like the way they have been the past like 5 years was.
I think Fritz is a great coach.
I love the new stadium. I went to the UCF Tulane game. I love the new stadium.
You've been to the stadium.
I think Golden's a really good stadium. Yeah.
So Navy, though, this is I think more about Navy than less about Tulane for me. Is just how poor they looked and not having any time. It felt like they just weren't prepared at all. Not just tackling, but they just didn't look like they even wanted to be there. BYU that was one of those games where nobody's in the stands. It's so weird, obviously. You can hear both teams interacting and like hooping and hollering after a big tackle or something. All you heard was BYU the entire game. And they were just going nuts on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, quickly, we need to change this bet because there's one team that's just clear ahead than anybody else. And I'm interested to see this on the college side, especially because there's a lot of parity to begin with. But are there more teams like this that are going to come up that are not prepared to play against another team that they should be equal to this year? And I know it's hard to tell that so early, but this is one that was like, oh, I don't know if Navy's if they're going to be right now.
Tulane's weakness on defense is their secondary, and they have a pretty damn good O line for their D line for the American Conference. So I definitely think that they could drop a.
Anybody
pretty
else
low
you're
number.
thinking like that? Where
No,
it's
I like Tulane here. I like
You do?
I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying. But the other thing, too, Tulane's fairly, pretty well coached too.
Yeah,
And I think when
agree.
you're playing those triple option teams, that's a big part of, if you have a good coaching staff, you think your team will be prepared. That's a huge part of it.
Well, another thing is
Jordan Howard just needs to throw the ball better than he did last week.
I was big on Army last week against UL Monroe. I had them a full game, but I also had them first half, and they got killed on that.
Yeah, they look. But you weren't wrong though. I mean, ULM, they're going through a lot of stuff this year. Too.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and that it made me. I was already pretty confident on the full game, but I went first half and I blew it on that one. But I know you know a little bit about that because you're from the area. They're +6 against Texas State. Texas State's had 2 games under their belt now.
ULM is usually a fairly feisty underdog. I think Matt Viator's a heck of a coach. He didn't work.
Well, so it's at ULM.
I don't know how much that's going to mean, but
Well, first game, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I know there's nobody in the stands. and it's
ULM
kinda
has a
like-
decent secondary. The rest of their D's weak, but they got an All-American in Corey Straughter, and I know Texas State likes to run the spread with Jake Spavital. I mean, I kind of feel okay about ULM as a 6-point home dog here.
Not a lot of big games this weekend in college.
No, it almost to be transparent, it feels like preseason until the 26th.
Yes, it does. It really
There
does.
are some. There's
Next
a
week,
handful of
there's a
good
few.
games. Like,
Oklahoma.
UCF at Georgia Tech this week. I think that's a pretty fun.
That
game.
one's interesting, and I feel like UCF may be the right game one side on that one.
I do
'cause,
too.
UCF is -7.5.
Georgia Tech still can't score.
No, never 7. If you
Yeah.
get it at 7, I'd feel a little better, but they certainly can't. I mean, I feel like that win last week at Florida State was way more an indictment on Florida State than
Right.
it was Georgia Tech at
Yeah,
Turner Point.
you're probably right. Miami, Louisville is also.
Louisville
Fun
and
game.
Miami.
Yeah, De'Aaron King.
-2.5.
Wait, who's favored?
Louisville's favored. -2.5.
And the game's at Louisville.
Yep. Oh, here's a good one. Over under 64 in that game.
But De'Aaron King and they got Rhett Lashley, former Auburn OC, now at Miami. And the thing when you look at Miami, it's actually kind of similar to LSU over the years, where they were still sending tons of dudes to the NFL. They just hadn't had a quarterback.
That's true.
And so it's like, it was kind of similar to a lot of what LSU'd gone through the years, where you'd be so mad as a fan because you're like, look at all the athletes we got everywhere. How are we not winning?
Yeah.
Right.
Not winning more. And I think they may have found their guy with De'Aaron King. I know they beat UAB 31-14 last week.
This looked very sluggish.
Yeah,
to me.
left some points out in the field too, I thought.
Okay.
But man, I don't have too strong. Louisville's very well coached. Satterfield did a good. I mean, it came from absolutely.
Like they were very explosive last year, and then I know they played Western Kentucky, but they still put some points up in that game. But last year, I remember the Mississippi State bowl game. They could score at will. They had some really good athletes and a lot of speed. But I know Miami's got a good D. So
Yeah. Louisville's got that little receiver, Tutu Atwell.
yeah.
He's a stud.
Here's another one. I had Syracuse last week.
Oh man, you had the right
as a
side
pick.
the whole game, and then they just pulled away.
Yeah,
it
and
was 7-3 late third.
yeah,
I told
and
him I like North Carolina there, and then
North Carolina just scored like
I didn't feel
3
great about it at
touchdowns
halftime,
in
yeah.
like 2 minutes,
Was the
basically.
score like 7-6 at half?
It was
10-6
10-6 at one
10-6.
point, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's 31-6.
Yeah.
But what I saw most importantly on that game was Syracuse couldn't score.
No.
And so now what I'm looking at is Pittsburgh -19.5 against Syracuse. Still very high to me, and I hate those kind of lines because they're so high. But I also saw what Syracuse had.
Yeah,
on
I feel like
offense.
I like Pittsburgh. It's one of those things where Vegas has Pittsburgh laying 19.5. They
They
got to feel
know.
pretty exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that just because that's a win. But Pittsburgh, Pat Narduzzi's a good coach.
Uh-huh.
Pittsburgh is a top 25 team, by the way,
Yeah, they're not bad.
because there's two conferences.
That's right.
We got Big Ten.
Everybody's a top 25 team. All right, so we also have Houston, Baylor. We hadn't seen either one of those teams. That'll be a little bit more of a exciting
Dave
matchup with
Aranda's
Dave
debut.
Aranda. That's right.
Yeah,
-4.5 in his opener.
fun
here
fun
against
coaching
Houston.
matchup. Dave Aranda against Dana Holgers.
Oh, absolutely.
That is fun.
2 contrasting styles. Actually, so Baylor should be implementing a little bit more of the LSU scheme, right?
right?
Munoz came over from
Oh, that's
LSU.
right. I
And now
forgot about
is he
that.
the OC at Baylor? Is that what I remember right?
I think so.
Yeah, so kind of like that whole Joe Brady system coming over. So that would be a fun game to watch. And then South Florida and Notre Dame. You got Notre Dame -25.5.
South Florida, man.
They were terrible,
Charlie
right?
Strong just crushed that program. I mean, he's not there anymore. But, because Taggart built it up decent. And then, man, you look back at Charlie Strong Louisville era, it looked fluky after what he did in Texas and South Florida. And
That's right.
South Florida's kind of in rough shape here. And it could be a good bounce back spot for Notre Dame after they looked sluggish last week.
They did. They really did.
They didn't. I
had them also covering last week, so they didn't do the thing. Oklahoma State, Tulsa. This would be Chuba Hubbard.
Oklahoma. A lot of hype on Oklahoma State this year.
There is minus 23 against Tulsa. I've seen Tulsa over just my entire lifetime. I feel like Tulsa is always covering.
Yeah, I would stay so far away from that game. I also just don't know what Oklahoma
I could also see Oklahoma State crushing them. So
what is their locker room like too
after everything that's happened
this offseason?
The other thing you got to worry about is in-state games like that. That's Tulsa's Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to that they're just you're going to get their best effort of the year.
There's a lot of
I feel like Louisiana Tech covers every time we play them.
Some of those, exactly. Yeah, those are the kind of games, and I'm probably wrong here, Mincy, but some of those big line games like that, I start looking at the first half lines and seeing if I can get a better deal somewhere. But like minus 23 Oklahoma State against Tulsa, if I could get like a minus 12 or something like that, and maybe they're up by a couple of touchdowns, and then Tulsa covers late. And I kind of win it.
I kind of look at it the other way when it comes to those kind of games.
Of course you do.
No. But when the G5 team plays the P5, the big thing you see is the college games, because the clock stops on first down and the tempo. Right. The games last like 5 hours. And so when the G5 team's defense, they'll come out fired up early, but they get gassed in the second half because they ain't got the depth. And so a lot of times you'll see the teams like that come out fired up and compete early and then just wear out.
Any parlays you've been on lately or looking at this week maybe?
I've just kind of looked at it by game basis so far. Like you said, I'm not going to. I had a good college week last week and a very poor pro week. But I'm not
opposite for you, right?
Yeah. No, I know. I had a real good Saturday and then did not have the best Sunday. But I'm still kind of looking at this as college preseason, trying not to go too hard until we get the P5 guys back.
Well, I already blew that one already last week for myself. Went way too hard last weekend.
Well, man, how can you not when you're so excited to see football? At least we got football playing, though.
That's right. This is the time just to be grateful.
Agree.
You're not going to have any fans in the stands, probably. I mean, you're going to have very limited. Are you going to be able to go? You're a student.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm waiting for on Monday. They're going to tell us which games I can go to and which games.
So that's how they're doing it.
And I'm a senior, so I should be able to go to
a better game.
Like 3 of the 5, and I should be able to go to the 3 better games.
Right. So, but for the average fan like myself, I'm not going to pay any kind of high price. I don't have season tickets. Mm-hmm. I'd usually be able to get a ticket for any game I want, but I'm going to have to pay for it. I'm not going to do that this year. I'm just going to sit back.
It's a good year to sit. I mean, I understand LSU fans too. You just had the dream season.
Yeah.
This is kind of not a bad year to sit at the house, grill out, have family.
And it's going on everywhere. It's not like it's just, I always think back at, when there is a hurricane in the South and we have to be without power and we're the only ones, everybody else has got power going on. Mm-hmm. This is the time where everybody in the entire country doesn't have power.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of situation everywhere and just got to deal with it, but just be grateful that we have football to watch. It could have been very easy. So big news today, Big Ten. What are your thoughts on Big Ten coming back?
I'm glad to see it, and it's just funny because how the media environment's been all year, and just the all the doom and gloom that's been preached, and the way the Big Ten.
For sure. Kevin
Warren, who's a new commissioner, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, comes in and pulls the plug early, and then has the audacity to say, "I didn't realize I'd get this much backlash from canceling football when you have Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Nebraska."
Yeah.
All in your conference. But you didn't realize those schools and those economies would be mad they don't have football. I mean, I thought that was one of the most – I mean, granted, I know quotes are taken out of context all the time in the current media world we live in and all that stuff. But, I thought that one was –
one of the headlines today, I think it was the USA Today writer who's probably been big on this whole thing to begin with. But she said – she came out and said, this is probably what Matt Moscona's on our screen right now. He's probably blasting this right now. But look how red his face is. So she said, this is the darkest day in Big Ten history because they've sold their soul for football. And somebody that we follow, another podcast that we follow, reposted it and said, let's not forget about the Penn State sex abuse.
Michigan State.
Yeah, Michigan State stuff.
Right.
I think there was something at Michigan a while back. The Maryland guy who died in practice. Come on.
No,
stop with the hyperbole.
No, I thought it was very, very ridiculously shallow. And I mean, I hate to sound like this. I just try to stay as far away as I can from the political.
Absolutely, you have to right now.
But like, man, Matt Moscona's points, I'm certainly on the same page.
I am too, and I don't agree with Matt a lot, but on this for sure I do. All right, so let's talk about LSU a little bit.
Let's do it.
He's pissed.
Look how red his face. He's banging on the desk. All right, so LSU win-loss total. Have you kind of looked at that schedule and kind of figured it out for yourself? And
Yeah, it's just so interesting with all the depth. I mean, they already lost so much, and then you got I know it's good for Farrell's going to opt back in, give him a little
right.
depth.
Possibly Sheldon, depending on how he's probably 400 pounds by this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably not certainly not a small man. Very so athletic for size, though.
For sure. Yeah.
But when you look at the LSU schedule, I mean, I think there's 6 games. I just feel like they're going to win.
Right.
I think, and then it comes down to the 4 where. Obviously at Auburn, at Florida, at A&M, and Bama at home are the 4 that are kind of, up in the air. I mean, I feel like 7-3 or 8-2 still, kind of one or the other. It's tough because 3 of those 4 are on the road, so I think that's going to be tough. I still think they're going to beat A&M, though.
I do too.
I just think that was a fluke.
You're coming on the wrong podcast if you think that if you're going to say that they're going to beat A&M. I was about to kick you out of my house.
At Auburn, at Florida feels like they'll split. Probably. I don't really know which one. But
here's where we've come from this year, though, is with COVID, with less fans, and at the time when we really were talking about this, we were talking about no fans probably, but now there's going to be maybe 20,000 at the Swamp or something like that. Mm-hmm. How much easier is this schedule now than it was?
That's true. And the Bama game is home field's never mattered in LSU Bama anyway.
Well,
both teams do better on the road.
That's in November. Could things change to where
I think it was 50? I feel like that might be 40 or 50% of the stands.
I would assume that could be. So it could be a bigger game for LSU then. I mean, A&M, you would have a more capacity, but I think we're just better than A&M.
I kind of think just the way all that went down, I think that they're not going to try to lose that.
I almost feel like we would play better if there were fans in the stadium for A&M than if there weren't. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Just because, it's the first time we played in front of them.
I've said this on this podcast, and LSU used to beat the hell out of Mississippi State every year. They really still do. But until Dak Prescott came, they beat them
1 year. And they beat them the next year.
17 out of 18 years. I was at the game where we lost in, was it 99, where we really won. We stopped the guy at the 1 yard line.
Oh, this is Justin Griffith. This is the night Charlie was born, right?
That was night your brother was born. Yeah. That's right. I've told you the story.
You told me the story.
He falls at the 1 and he crawls to the goal line. The referee doesn't see it, and it's all over ESPN 2, I think is where it was broadcast. And Trev Falk throws his helmet because he's pissed. But we lost that game. But that was the one game that we had lost against Mississippi State in 20 years, basically. I feel like we're about to do that to A&M. We're about to pistol whip A&M for the next 10 years, and it's all passed because of the whole stuff at the end of the game a couple of years ago, the 7th overtime game, all the talk from A&M. I feel like this is the game that they're going to look at, and they're going to
we're like we're never doing this again.
Right. And you saw last year with the 50-7. I was telling an A&M fan not too long ago, you're about to see how good our second team is, because I'm telling you, last year our second team would have beat A&M last year. It was that much of a difference of the team. What are your thoughts on the scheme going ahead? And there's a lot of talk of Burrow going down to Miles Brennan, and that obviously there is going to be a regression, I guess you would say, in stats or production, that kind of stuff. But the scheme still being in place, and I think that's one thing that LSU fans they don't have their arms around yet, is figuring out what this offense is still going to look like. Are they still going to score a lot? Are they still going to be moving the ball as well as they were last year? What are your thoughts on that, just as a, not an outsider, I shouldn't say that, but you don't have the purple and gold glasses like I do.
Yeah, the thing that's fascinating to me is Eric Gilbert and how they're going to use him in this offense, because he looks like a little bit bigger DK Metcalf. I saw a picture of him in practice without his helmet on. I was like, oh my God. Look at that guy. He runs like a 4.45. He's 18. No, I'm very curious to see how they use him in this offense, especially if Chase opted out.
Yeah.
Really, I'll tell you what's going to be paramount for the LSU offense this year is Terrace Marshall's health.
Yes,
because he's had health problems going back, and
Yeah.
I covered him
That's
up
right.
in Bossier. And great kid, great kid, but he had that awful ankle injury his senior year, second game, and then he's been, he's looked really good. He was banged. He was still recovering from that true freshman year. Last year played well, but fought more injuries.
Yep.
If he gets banged up, it's going to be tough. Because, I mean, you do got guys that have a lot of talent. Can't wait to see Keyshawn Boot. Racy McMath. Trey Palmer could be, get him the ball. He's an athlete.
I feel like Trey Palmer, we talked about this last episode. I feel like Trey Palmer's getting passed up on the depth chart. And I don't know if it's because of Trey Palmer or if it's because they're just guys that are just dudes. It's hard.
It could be both, man.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, Trey
John
Palmer coming out of high school is
stepping up too.
huge. What'd you say?
John J. Kirkland's also stepping up.
Yeah.
As far as they're saying at with what they can say in press conferences and whatnot.
So going back, like you got the road games, Auburn and Florida. Well, Florida, Auburn, I should say. How do you look at that as far as Miles Brennan going into those road games with a little less hostile crowd? Do you feel like there's an advantage there?
Yeah, of course there is. It's just the only thing is, coming off the best season ever, and that was Burrow. Keep in mind that was the second year starting too.
Right.
I think LSU's offense will be about 65% of that, and which is still good. I mean, you're talking about the best offense we've ever seen.
Right.
What they averaged like high 40s last year, would they average something like that? I mean, I still think you get in the low 30s per game. And I think the offense will be good. The big thing is to switch into the 4-3 on defense, which Coach O certainly prefers being an old D-line guy.
Sure, right.
I'm curious to see how that goes. And looking forward to seeing Jabril Cox play.
He had some strong words recently about the defense. Just basically, was that today or yesterday?
Yeah,
yesterday.
He said they're already better than any point last year.
Defense is better, and that's crazy to me. But it goes back to, I think last year, none of us had ever seen an offensive like that, obviously, and it was like, me and our friends were talking about it because it was a year ago, Georgia Southern, and then Texas was basically a year ago. And after the Texas game, you started realizing, okay, this is the way it's just going to be. We're going to be able to outscore teams. And our mindset for the rest of the year was basically, can that team score 20, 30 points against us? Because I don't know if they can. Can Florida score 30 points against LSU this year? Because I don't know if they can. Because I think we can score 30 points against them. And that's kind of the way I'm thinking about this whole year. And I'm having to justify myself. And I know I've got purple and gold glasses, but I start going down the schedule and I'm like, I do wonder though. I don't know if we're going to be able to score 42 on Florida this year though. I mean, no, but they scored 28 last year. So, and they played lights out.
How do you feel about the O-line this year? Because they lost a lot.
I feel like it's better. I feel like they with Shanahan coming in.
I don't know if it's better.
I say it's better than what I was originally thinking it was going to be.
Okay.
With the transfer coming in at center, I think that shored up a lot of stuff. Now you can move Chase and Hines into your guard position where they weren't quite sure about. So you had Cardell Thomas and you had Bradford who were kind of fighting for that role. Now you don't have to worry about that.
And Bradford can both be just depth guys.
They're just depth.
And elite depth guys.
Now you got to have Rosenthal. He's got to be a stud on that left side, and everybody's been talking about that.
Yeah.
Ed Ingram is an All-American in my opinion. If he can
keep
stay
his grades,
healthy,
and grades,
Deculus is to me, he's going to be a solid guy. I just don't think Deculus is ever going to be that stud you were thinking he was going to be out of high school. But I think he got a lot of experience there, and it's a better situation than we thought it was going to be. So that one's not as touchy.
You feel pretty good about that?
I do, and I'm just bigger on Brennan right now. I feel like in that scheme, here's what I look at is 2018 to 2019. The leaps and bounds that offense took all around, not just Burrow, but also wide receivers. They're catching balls now like they never caught before. It was completely different.
Yeah.
Now Brennan being 2 years into that scheme and having so much just experience alone, just being in the locker room. I know he didn't have game experience, but I think he's got all the talent to do this.
Yeah. Something about that O-line last year, though, is that, Joe Burrow was so good in the pocket and, moving around.
Yeah.
I think a big thing is going to be Miles Brennan.
I mean,
even close to.
I've talked about this, and I know this isn't indicative.
Oklahoma game.
It's that Oklahoma game. All right, so when he came into the Oklahoma game, we're killing him. Brennan comes in. He gets pressure on the side. He does that dip under move with the ball in his hands, just like Burrow did. And he steps up in the pocket, makes a throw.
Right.
And I was thinking, oh, they're coaching this.
Right.
It's not just Burrow, right? Like, so that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking at is like, okay, I know he's not going to be Burrow. Like, so we talked about this one. It was going to be a 12-game season. Burrow had 6,000 yards passing, for crying out loud. But Brennan having 4,000, that's not out of the question. Yeah. Like, you had people coming out saying, oh, 3,000 would be good. 3,000. Like, did you just watch this offense last year?
3,000. They're going to have 3,000 would be a good number now.
Well, yeah, and all SEC games.
With 10 games, it's a different animal.
It's like Joe Burrow averaged 400 yards a game passing last year.
You could have had more.
Right.
Miles Brennan is not going to have that.
But I don't see us gravitating to the running game like a lot of people start talking about. I don't see our pass run ratio changing at all. If they do, shame on Ed Ogeron.
It's just slightly
because you shouldn't do that.
It's just the players that you have. You know?
Why would you mess with the scheme that was put on the field last year at all?
Is that messing with it, or is that slightly adjusting because
that was the best offense?
Okay, but last year
you're in an argument, Ben. We brought you into an
argument. Last year you had 3 first-round receivers. This year you have 3 workhorse running backs and 1 first-round receiver, and then a freak of nature tight end. So, I mean,
yeah, but you also had a first-round running back last year. He's playing for the Chiefs now.
I question Edwards-Hilaire's ability in the passing game. Do they have a running back that can step up and catch the ball like that? I mean, that's going to be something they're going to miss. He was unbelievable.
I think John Emery is going to be our guy that we're going to be looking at for that. But, nobody knows because we hadn't seen him.
Kevin Falk can coach up whoever does it.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like people didn't pay enough attention to how good a job Falk coached Edwards-Hilaire. I feel like that should have been more of a story. I mean, because Falk, one of the prototypical best ever third down backs catching the ball.
That's right.
I feel like he had such a big role on that.
Or an impact somehow. I mean, they're almost clones a little bit as far. I mean, Falk was a little bit bigger in college, but
also a little faster.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I feel like you don't mess with the best offense in history. I get it. I get the guys are different. I'm just talking about the scheme. If you start running the ball 60-40, to me, you lost.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like,
I've heard that, though. Not you, but I've heard people talk about that. What did we do last year?
We did, like, maybe 55-45 pass to run.
They ran more than you think.
They did. It was just a sneaky.
I remember the Florida game especially.
Yeah, you're going to need to be shotgun with Miles Brennan. You don't need to be under center.
Yeah, you can just run out of the shotgun and spread formation.
That's right. So I don't know. I'm big on this. Before Chase opted out, I was 10-0 guy, but now obviously things have changed, and what's the game that we're going to lose?
I think Tyler Shelvin may make the difference in a win and a loss, like an extra.
He's in shape,
he could add a win.
So
he'll be in shape.
How y'all feeling about the pass rush? Switch into a 4-3.
I think that Pelini is going to bring the heat.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
I was saying I think pass rush is going to be one of our weaker points of the team, and then he brought up the point of but we have Bo Pelini, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
He just brings the blitzes in different places.
Yeah, secondary. You can see some secondary blitzes.
Oh, you're gonna have Jacoby Stevens all over the damn field.
Yeah.
I mean, our linebackers now it's so funny. You brought up Jabril Cox. Our linebackers look like a big strength of the team, right? You got Damone Clark, Jabril Cox. You don't think so?
No.
I thought you made a face that you didn't think of that.
My ankle hurts.
I think those guys are going to be all over the field, and if you can get that D line to at least take up the gaps to where those guys can kind of roam free, I think that's what Pelini wants on a 4-3 defense.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's kind of like we hadn't seen him since 2007 run that kind of defense, but I remember what that looked like. And it looked pretty damn good when you had
especially Glenn Dorsey before he got hurt.
Yeah,
he was hurt second half of the year.
They always had those,
before he got hurt that first half.
Neil Farrell is going to help out a lot. We were talking about that. So you got 3 defensive tackles alone that have good experience with Apu-Ika, Glenn Logan, and Neil Farrell. You got 2 stud freshmen underneath them as defensive tackles. So you got some good depth there.
Coach O said that Joseph Evans is a notch above those 2 freshmen.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He said Joseph Evans is the 3rd defensive tackle starter.
What are your thoughts on Mississippi State? Because we do have a bottle. Do we have a bottle of bourbon on that game? What's our bet on that game? That
on the Mississippi State game, it's up to $50 bottle of bourbon.
Now, is it a 17
point spread?
So
I think State's going to struggle a lot this year. I think their roster, when you go from Dan Mullen to Joe Moorhead to Mike Leach, I mean, this roster is not. And the other thing that's weird about State, they hadn't had a good receiver drafted forever.
Yeah.
Leach is taking over a team. You think of Leach spreading it out, their receiving core is dust. The strength of their team's their running back, Kyler Hill.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have to run the ball a little more. And then their defense has lost a ton. They're switching to 3-3-5. And you look at Leach, I think that Leach is going to do a good job there, but it's going to be a rough year one.
Yeah, they need some guys in.
I think it's going to be a little bit of a
he usually rolls with about 15 wide receivers on a team, basically.
Yeah,
something crazy.
Yeah.
But Costello coming in, I don't.
He's gonna have to do some things that he hasn't done in a while, like stuff that he maybe was doing back at Texas Tech in 2005.
I wish I could see some headlines like that. But 17 was the line at then.
I think it's around 17 and a
you
half.
got to hammer that, right? LSU 17.
I like LSU, but like you said, I like LSU. I wouldn't say I love it, but I definitely like it. I mean, I think State's going to struggle. I know I'm an Ole Miss guy, but I think Kiffin's inherited a lot better situation to win now.
So who's the quarterback going to be at Ole Miss this year?
Well, so far, Plumlee's been banged up a little bit, so Corral's been getting more of the reps. But I want it to be Plumlee. I think.
Do you see two guys playing? Maybe Corral and then
I think they're going to, but I hate that. I just think when you look at the roster Ole Miss has with Jerry and Ely, who's an unbelievable running back at speed, Snoop Connor. They've got a couple guys that have experience in the O-line. They only have one receiver in Elijah Moore that's done well. I think the path to doing well is running the ball and using Plumlee and athleticism and giving people
I think Corral maybe fits that off. Kiffin's maybe more comfortable with a Corral-type quarterback, but I think if Ole Miss was going to be their best version of themselves, then it would be to make your offense fit around Plumlee.
I mean, Plumlee I think everybody at LSU is going to say, why aren't you playing?
Yeah, from
Plumlee.
LSU's perspective, please start.
I mean, that guy.
Please go two
had
quarterbacks.
Superstar written all over him.
Yeah, you can't keep that kind of athleticism off field.
No, and it was one of those guys. I mean, he's a freshman, obviously, but you could just tell the team kind of gravitated towards him a little bit more last year. It was like one of those kind of guys that a dude.
Maybe should consider moving positions.
I mean,
they talked about trying to use him like a Percy Harvin type.
So okay. So wide receiver. So
yeah,
you don't like that though?
I mean, I don't mind. I gotta see it, but it's.
If he ever wants to maybe play in the NFL one day.
Well, he's not. He's going to play baseball, right?
He would probably rather play baseball, but I mean, who knows? I mean, if you want a shot at the NFL, it wouldn't be playing quarterback.
I'm telling y'all, Jerry and Ely, the running back, is. Kid something.
Yeah, you Scotty Phillips too.
No, he's going to Texas now. But they got Jerry and Ely and Snoop.
I like Ely and Plumlee in the backfield. Me too, yeah. You're doing the zone read. And
that bingo. That's exactly what I think too. Especially Ole Miss has got Florida at home, week one, and when you look at Florida's pass rush to the D line and secondary, drop back passer ain't gonna work in that game for Ole Miss. They're gonna win. They need to run the zone read against them and go against where they're a little weak.
What are your thoughts on Florida a little bit this year?
I mean, they're going to be solid. They're going to be good. The tight end they got's a monster.
Yeah, he is.
Kyle Trask is steady. You always think of Mullen likes the running quarterback more. They lost a good bit on defense, but man, Florida's always got D-line. They rush the passer, and they always got a secondary. And they're going to be aggressive with Todd Grantham always. And so you got to give them the benefit of the doubt on defense. I mean, I think they're going to be pretty good. And when you look at Georgia – I mean, the JT Daniels thing's what I'm watching close to Georgia.
So,
he's had some injuries.
Okay, so he's hurt.
Yeah, that's a knee injury, and so they're saying he's not. He's eligible already, but they don't know if he's.
And so this is Dwayne Matthews. Is that his name?
Dan Mathis. They
right.
can't feel that good about Mathis if they just took all these transfers. Is my thoughts.
No.
I don't know anything about
Dwan Mathis.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him either.
Never heard
Dwayne Matthews.
They've got to be in shock. Coming from, they thought they were going to have Jamie Newman, who was on Heisman boards, to JT Daniels, and now, what's his name again?
Dwan
Mathis.
Yeah, I mean, they just hired Todd Monken to come in here and run the spread.
Freshman.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Georgia's, they're obviously going to be pretty conservative early. They got that road trip to Bama that's going to be.
Oh, that didn't look good now.
Ooh,
at one point, I was thinking, Bama, that could be a loss for them because I do like Georgia's defense, but if their offense can't put up points, I mean that was their whole. I mean they're kind of in that LSU mold from 2018 or 2017, I should say, where they have great defense, but they can't get the points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to get that right offensive scheme, and then now you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, and just the Fromm over Fields thing is going to haunt. It is kind of lingers as a cloud for a couple of years. I mean, that was
big time.
That was a decision that they wish they had back.
All right. Well, anything else you want to cover, Jack? Anything else you want to pick his brain about? I think we covered a lot.
I'm all good. That was
I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Cigarette.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you coming in. We'll do this again for sure.
Yeah, love to, man. Enjoying Baton Rouge. As I said, just game time's been fun. Working with Jimmy Ott every day is a treat. You know,
I bet, man.
Yeah, he's a character, and we have a great time. And I got to say, our show's grown a lot. I like the trajectory of it.
Has he gotten you over to Harper's Haberdashery?
He has not.
He hasn't.
He has
Sam
not.
Willard, he hadn't gotten you in front of Sam.
He has not. I mean, I'll definitely take it if you will.
Oh, he's probably got an account. I bet you Jimmy Ott's got an account.
He's always Jimmy. He'll rock
a trade somehow.
He rocks those codes, sport codes.
Oh yeah, he does.
But I loving Baton Rouge. For T-Bob's been great to me too. I'm the OTB Hour Fridays from 9 to 10.
Yes,
and
that's right.
We do the 6-pack on Thursdays at 8:30. We're starting the fantasy show tonight, and I'm doing game time. I'm trying to immerse myself.
That's good, man.
And Sunday mornings too. I got to say this too. Sunday morning with myself, Jimmy Ott, and Rohan's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we were both listening to that show.
Rohan and me have a great. Rohan, he loves how energetic I am, and so we got a fun.
Yeah, that was never a matchup of people that I would have thought worked so well, but that really did work really well.
We need to get Rohan on the podcast.
You definitely need to get Rohan.
I'll get him. We've already done a rewind on the LSU Tennessee game when Rohan came out. So we got Cecil Collins on.
We didn't do the Tennessee game.
Diesel, I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to.
All right, so we got Cecil Collins. Hopefully this Monday. So I got to confirm that with the Diesel. I'll wear my Cecil the Diesel T-shirt that day. So look for that. Also look for the Home Dogs. We're going to be recording that Friday. It looks like we'll have our little 3-pack picks, not the 6-pack. We'll do the 3-pack. We're not going to compete with you because we can't.
No, I mean you might.
I was 2-1 last week.
Yeah, 2-1's better than I did last week. I was 4-1 in college.
Hey, here's my dog of the week last week. Coastal Carolina.
There you go.
Guess what game I did not bet? Coastal Carolina.
Boy, the Sun Belt. I mean, I felt like the Big 12 deserved like European soccer relegation after the Sun Belt went 3-0 against them.
Yeah.
They almost should be regulated at the G5.
And Texas Tech almost lost to Houston
as
Baptist.
a 44-point favorite, I believe.
Oh, my gosh.
Heard the Baptist got too conservative at the end. Can't make this stuff up.
All right, guys. We really appreciate it. Big shout out again to Courtesy Buick GMC. Go check out Brandon Lejeune and his hit list. Also, Bear Process Safety. You'll hear from Adam Berry. He'll be coming in the studio this Friday, so be on the lookout for that. But follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. One Team One Pod on Twitter. We're going to continue here to watch how red Matt Moscona's face gets. We will talk to you.
Looks like the hot sauce on the Pluckers chicken wings in his face.
Oh my gosh! Look how red it is. Yeah, he needs a drink. Is what he needs. All right, guys, we will talk to you guys soon. That is One Team, One Podcast.
Logging out.